devoted to the love of board gaming. My name is Sweetness Whachacha, and today we're looking at some tokens for the Marvel Champions LCG and some tokens for the Lord of the Rings LCG, both from a company called Buy the Same Token. Now, firstly, I should say, I have absolutely no connection to this company at all. I purchased all these tokens myself. I saw them on a channel called Nelson All Over the Cards. He uses them in his playthroughs and stuff, and I thought they were really kind of cool. Next up, how much are they? Well, they're definitely an investment. You can get like the core set for Marvel Champions, say, for about $106. And then from beyond that, they have little sets, or they sell them kind of a la carte, a little piecemeal, for $1 or $2 a token. And that might not sound too bad, but it definitely adds up. You need a lot of tokens. So this is a very healthy expenditure. So I'm just going to show you them and explain a little bit about them and why they are advantageous. And you can decide whether or not they're worth it for you. Now, the first thing is, of course, well, are you going to get the value out of them? And for me, I think absolutely. These are upgrades for games that you're going to play quite a bit. So for me personally, I played thousands, like several thousand games of Lord of the Rings. I'm coming up, I think I might have passed my 1,000th game of Marvel Champions. And so this, of course, is aesthetically quite pleasing. It's quite a nice little upgrade for a game that you play quite a lot. So there are lots of products on the market these days, which adds some value to your play. I think Stonemaier Games has, like a lot of upgrades and things, and various games have these things, and it's just a quality thing where you're like, oh, that looks very pleasant to me. But are you going to play the game enough to really justify that extra cost? Well, here I think absolutely, for me especially, and I think that for players of these games that are enjoying them, of course, you're going to be playing them quite a bit. So not only are they aesthetically pleasing, though, but I do believe that they do cut down on bandwidth a bit. So for me personally, I play almost predominantly solo. I mean, these games especially. And there are some things about the code tokens that speed up the play. They cut down on a little bit of that bandwidth and stuff that you really need. You want to be concentrating on enjoying the game and not kind of rummaging around for tokens and counting up the tokens and things like that quite a bit. Every little bit of that I think helps quite a bit, saves you a lot of time and energy and enjoyment in the long run. Now, I should mention where you can buy these before we get into it as well. You can get them on Etsy. That's where I found them. But as a small business owner myself, I would say just go directly to their website. If you do that, they don't have to pay a little cut to Etsy, so just a little bit probably for them, which makes it nicer. That's a big deal to a small business. They are located in England, I believe, in the UK somewhere. I'm here in the States. I don't think I ever had to wait more than a week, really, for them. I've made about 3 shipments so far from them. I got an initial run, and then I got some extras here and there. I got the Lord of the Rings, the Marvel Champions set, and then I got the Lord of the Rings set, and then I had some add-ons that I'll kind of talk about why I decided to purchase those as well. So the only downside I'm going to say to them, really, for me, is that they come in sort of like a film, like a little paper on either side. It's a real pain in the neck to take off. I do get that they are protecting them, and that's very important for some people, but it takes me like 30 seconds to a minute to peel these things off. I'm not very good at it, so that's the only probably negative thing you'll hear. Let's look at the 1s and 2s firstly. I can't honestly remember if this is all part of just the basic set that you get. You can look on the website to see. I don't remember if I upgraded anything, but I don't think so, but that's roughly the amount you'll get there. And then, of course, you have the damage, you have the threat, and then the sort of universal tokens. And as I mentioned before, it's really nice that they're double-sided, so you can flip them over quite easily. They also have fives and 10s, of course. And as you can see, I should have mentioned this before, they are nice little hardy plastic, pretty thick. They're 3D printed, as I say. These colors here are 3D printed as well. So they're not going to rub off or anything like that. They'll be there for life. So they are quite pleasing. And then, of course, they have the 5s and 10s. So the flippable nature of this is what I like the most, honestly, other than the size, which I'll talk about in a minute. So like 3 damage to 4 damage, nice and easy. Okay, you go from 3 threat to 5 threat. You just pull these off and put that over there. You've got 4 threat, and you're going to add, you want to add 2. So you take this away, flip it, boom, and you get pretty used to, how quickly you can do that. So it's really kind of nice. Like if you got 9 damage, and somebody deals you 6 damage, then you would just do that. And there you go. So that's like one of the quality of life things I like the best about it. Stun, Confuse, and Tough. These pieces are, they seem a little superfluous. I feel like I don't need them. They're the same on front and back here. But, I used to just have all the cards and, you got to flip through and find what you want. So they're actually quite useful. And as I say, the size will make a difference in a moment as well. Now we also have the ready and exhausted tokens. So, you ready and then, okay, thwart. There you go, they're exhausted. It's very easy to see, and then when the round changes, all you have to do is flip all of these over. Really, really very handy. I used to use just red chips like this, or any chip really, and I would put it on there to show that that person was exhausted. Sometimes though I can miss them, and I notice sometimes like, well, did I use them this round? I don't think so, but they still have this. It does seem easy to just take them all off, and these are great, by the way. They really look nice. They're Fantasy Flight. Really nice little lovely tokens. But I did recently, this week actually, get these in because I really found that like it is really easy to see that, because they're a different color and it always has a token, so okay, it's much more clear when you have a full table full of cards. Just go along the line and flip them all over, and they always have the token on them, so I kind of like that. Now these tokens are a little bit more piecemeal. These tokens, these come with that kind of initial pack you get. It's pretty nice as a reminder, if you want to add and amplify, take one away. I got the 3s and 4s because these were extra things that I bought, again, 2-sided, because sometimes, some of these newer quests and things can really ramp up some of the amplified tokens, or you're playing with something like Deadpool or something. And then I got these 3s and 4s. As well as, I showed you these before, but, they were a little bit of an extra buy because I feel I use these multi-tokens quite a lot. People like War Machine, Maria Hill, those are definitely some heroes that definitely, that use these quite often. And then in some of the newer scenarios, like lock tokens and things, you find that you use these quite a bit. And so I have bought enough of these just because they're universal. I mean, there's so many, different, different units and things and cards that use that sort of thing. Now the 20 and 50 damage, there are, I use these for the villain damage as well. So, they flip over. And some of the villains can definitely have quite a lot of damage and stuff. I also like to use this stuff for my heroes. And then there are some scenarios recently I've noticed, well, not recently with the Sinister Six, but I feel like, certain scenarios like the gene pool and stuff where I find I really like having a few of these. Didn't buy a ton of them. I just bought a few to have just so in those rare cases, or maybe not so rare cases anymore, I have those. And next to last, you're going to see this, they have a first player 1-up. It's like a little video game token type of thing. Kind of unnecessary. This one is not, it's nice, but it doesn't really wow me or provide any useful gameplay thing for me personally. I did want to quickly note, just kind of some other things you can do to make this much quicker and decrease the bandwidth, increase the play speed and stuff. Something like Sonic Rifle that provides, has 2 charges and, it can confuse an enemy. I put these tokens right on here instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do 1 and then go and grab a confuse and put it on an enemy. I just leave these 2 on there. That's my charges, and that's what it does. So then I put the confuse on somebody. I know I've got 1, and of course, I would exhaust it, and then the next round, put that on there, and it's gone. So it's just like, there's a lot of little quick things you can do like that. They also have some other products, one of which is like a hero board. They're hero specific, so I would probably feel the need to have one for each specific hero. There's like, 60 or 70 heroes now. I don't really remember exactly. Not really worth it for me personally. I don't want to put that extra money out. And I don't find that I find that just putting that exhaust token on them or whatever is enough to denote that. So those I don't like. They do offer them. And they have a lot of specialized tokens as well, which are like, like specific to specific heroes. They might have a specific ability or something and they get their own token, like a shield folder and things. I mean, they've got a bazillion different kinds of tokens, and those are all great. They do add up very quickly though, as I mentioned before. So to me, the nice sweet spot is to have those universal tokens and nothing like specific for a specific hero, because there's just too many heroes. Now, if I was like always playing Spider-Man or something, then I might get those like web tokens or something, webbed up tokens or something. But otherwise, it's not really worthwhile. The one product they sell that I do want, but I have not bought, is because it's very, very expensive. They have a tray that kind of keeps all your side schemes and everything kind of in order. I mentioned the thing about the sizing a few moments ago. And so I actually, you can see there's a video on my channel where I actually made my own rather than spend $300. Very, I mean, really remarkably expensive. So I made my own, and I'll just show you how the tokens fit in those trays. Okay, so here's the tray. As you can see, there's a channel here which holds these pieces perfectly. Again, the one you can buy has a spot for your main scheme and your side scheme. Sorry, this is a very, let's try that again. First of all, I apologize for the glare. My lights do not like my some of my sleeves here. But yeah, so you'll see there's a spot for side schemes. There's a spot for like upgrades for the villain. There's the villain themselves. And then the tray itself, like as I say, everything fits nicely on this tray. So that's kind of a nice thing. So, you know, again, same thing with this. So you want to you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to add a threat here. Boom, I pinged his tough off. I did 3 damage to him. You know, let's do that. Oh, he schemed. You know, he's going up to 9 schemes. So we'll flip this, move that, and put a 5 there. So really, really handy. Very, very quick, and keeps everything very nice and neat. Again, I had to make this one. You can watch that video, but they do sell one for a few $100s on their channel or on their page. Now, I know I said last thing a couple of times now, but I just wanted to show like how I organize them. You can do it a little differently. I like these little trays. They're easy to grab things out of, but I put my ready and, you know, my ready and exhausteds in here, all the 1s and 2s, no matter what. So I mix all the 1s and 2s together, all the 5s and 10s together, the statuses, and then all the miscellaneous, because these are things I don't go to as, you know, going to grab out as often. So everything miscellaneous goes in there. And I also have a die for randomized, you know, I have to put a random minion or something, or choose a random side scheme or something, and then of course the first player token. Okay, so now let's take a look at the Lord of the Rings. Much less available for that, but what we have is we have the first player token, which not super useful to me, but man, is this gorgeous. This little thing, the Shards of Narsil here, really, really, really cool. I mean, again, it's just, that's a visual thing, really. Only, I always play solo, so, you know, I don't really do two-handed very often, but yeah, that's a lovely piece here. They have these, I had to buy a different pack to do the 5s and 10s, the same thing with that. They're that same size, so I did make another channel thing, you know, to put those on, which is kind of nice. So you can put, you know, one of these ones on the, you know, on the location or something, if you have a way to do that, and then flip it to 2. And then there's 5s and 10s for the, you know, quest card itself, as well as these. I will note a couple things. Number one, boy, is it gorgeous. You can see that, you know, that detail on there. Very, very lovely, especially here with the 1 piece there, with the one counter. They look really, really nice. Although weirdly on these specific ones, now that background here is really something else, but when you flip it, you lose that. So that's a bit of a bummer. They're not nearly as enjoyable to look at. Again, if you can see that, that's a significant difference. The damage tokens, they're a little less clear. You know, I mean, they're matching the core set, which is nice, but they flip over here to 1 and 2. I do like, one of the things I like about the, you know, the other set, the Marvel Champions one, you know, is it's 1 and 2. Very easy to tell. You know, here you have to look a little more. So they're a little less clear. And again, you know, that is so beautiful. I mean, these are way well, the design of these is aesthetically pleasing, but also that marbling underneath is just gorgeous. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the way they're manufactured, I'd imagine they just can't be done. So you can see that. So that's kind of a bummer that they're a little less enjoyable. And these are a little less clear. I've always found the, you know, the corset tokens and stuff, you know, that is not as, I don't like that look as much. But, you know, again, that red marbling is nice. And I guess it is not, it's a little easier to tell because when you flip that, you know, okay, I got to add a damage, that's 4. I guess because it's a little more muted. And then, of course, the fellowship tokens, or the resource tokens, same thing, 2 and 1. These are a lot less lovely, I think, than the others. I mean, these are definitely the best. But you know, they're nice, and you know, I guess it's if you have just too many resources on your heroes, you should be putting some more cards drawn, because you shouldn't have so many resources. But it does seem like the initial pack has, which is what I got. I don't remember if I got extras on these. There's not a ton, although I guess that's 6. So I guess it is a pretty decent amount. I have not played with these yet. I haven't played Lord of the Rings in quite a while. I just bought these on another order I did. So, but yeah, I feel like there's a nice. They look nice. They're a little less robust in terms of how many different kinds of tokens there are, and their usefulness. I wish there was a 5 on this. I wish that these are a little different like this, but again, I have noticed that my own tokens have taken some wear and tear over the years, so this is kind of nice, for that purpose alone. Okay, so hopefully that helps you to decide whether this is a product that you want to get or not. Again, I think they're really fantastic tokens. They really cut down on that bandwidth. They provide a visual interest, and also tokens that aren't going to, get frayed or have a problem, because they really seem like lifetime products here. Again, they are pretty pricey. If you play enough of these kind of games, which I imagine you would if you're watching something like this, then they're a no-brainer for me. But you'll make that decision yourself. So for now, I gotta roll.